that I shall be a true and faithful servant to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Do swear that I will and truly serve Her Majesty the Queen.
Do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors.
The oath was never to you. It was to the crown. Every judge, officer, and politician, they swear not to defend the people, but to uphold the authority above them, a hierarchy of obedience disguised as democracy. So when the people rose, demanding to be heard, their voices were dismissed as a fringe minority. But this is not betrayal. It's by design. For the laws they serve were never written by the hands of the people, but by the architects of control.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
They say no one is above the law, but who writes its laws, who interprets it, and who enforces it when those in power break it themselves. The illusional document, bound in ink and ceremony, is just another mechanism of control, a charter they called it, a covenant of rights and freedoms, but hidden between its clauses lies a quiet deception. It was never written to hold a crown to account, only to give the illusion that the servants could ever be restrained. For what good is a law when those who swear to uphold serve not the people, but the monarch who reigns over and above it? Section 1 of the Charter is titled Reasonable Limits. Every right you think you have can be taken away as long as the government says it's reasonable. Well, who decides what's reasonable? The same institution the Crown controls. The courts, the ministers, the bureaucracy. Section 1 gives them the key to override every other right. And then the fundamental freedoms, the one that speaks to the hearts of man all across the nation, conscience, religion, belief, opinion, expression, and so on. Every single one of those is subject to Clause 1. Your freedom of expression only exists until it becomes unreasonable. Your right to assembly only exists until it becomes inconvenient. And finally, Section 33 of the Charter states that Parliament has the power to suspend your rights for 5 years. And when those years expire, they simply sign again for another 5, and another 5, and another 5. An infinite loop of obedience, dressed in the language of democracy. They told you the freedom was eternal. The Charter was never a wall protecting the citizens. It was a contract protecting the Crown, with a renewal date.
Did you just say Canadian capital gains is 66%?
It's 66% now. They just passed that.
2/3. So if you make
So it really makes no
$100,000, your government takes $66,000.
Basically, yeah.
I can't breathe.
I can't either. So that.
In 1917, Sir Robert Borden, the Canadian Prime Minister at the time, stood before the nation and called for a small sacrifice from the Canadian people. To fund the war overseas, he introduced what was said to be temporary, the Income War Tax Act. It was promised to end when the guns fell silent. The people agreed, trusting the government would keep its word. But as peace returned, the tax remained, quietly woven into the fabric of the nation. Employers became tax collectors on behalf of the government, and the merchants passed their burdens to the people through rising prices. But what began as a duty to defend freedom became a system to sustain it. And behind it all, another law gave Parliament the means to act without the people's consent, the War Measures Act. It allowed the state, in times of war or even apprehended danger, to rule by decree, to suspend rights, condole industries, and silence dissent. Section 3 of the Act declared that such powers exist in war, invasion, or insurrection. Section 4 gave the governor and council absolute authority. And from that silence, a lesson was born, that power once granted is rarely surrendered. History reminds us the most dangerous men are not those who take power by force, but those who convince the people to hand it to them. For every law born in fear plants the seed of control, and every empire hides its reach behind noble words. And the clever rulers do not storm the gates, they build Trojan horses and invite the people to celebrate as they roll them in. And by the time the truth is seen, the chains have already been fastened, not by conquerors, but by consent.
Here's a quick rundown of all the taxes we pay. Income tax, GST, HST, if you own a small business, corporate tax, capital gains tax, and believe me, the worst one of all is the inflation tax. You just don't see it. But when the government overspends or they print out too much money, any cash that you have in the bank or on hand is getting destroyed. Property tax, excise tax, air conditioning tax, land transfer tax, carbon tax, any sort of tariffs, customs and duties, that's a tax. Airport security tax, hotel taxes, let's not forget the airport security and other taxes associated to travel, health and education tax, payroll taxes, let's not forget the luxury tax, and there's the death tax. Yeah, when you die, your estate, it's gonna get charged a tax. Isn't there some sort of a battery tax too? Tax after tax after tax after tax. And the majority of it is with your after-tax dollars.
Oftentimes people are going to say, yeah, but it's only the rich that get taxed so much.
That's not true.
I decided to break it down. The median income in Canada is $55,000. From that $55,000, you're going to have a combined provincial and federal income tax in Ontario here of $11,500. From there, you're going to pay $4,000 in CPP and EI, so Canadian Pension Plan and Employment Insurance. On top of that, we're in Canada. Most people have a car and need to drive. Gas, and this one blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. The minimum tax on fuel is 37 cents per liter. That includes excise taxes, both federal and provincial. Montreal has a 3 cent for public transport. Then you have QST and GST. Roughly, that's an extra $1,000 a year that you pay in taxes just on gas. And then on top of that, property taxes.
It's about 1% of the purchase price.
Right there, you're at $23,000 of taxes annually. So it gives you remaining $32,000 in your pocket. But wait, that's not your purchasing power quite yet. Because on top of that, that's going to be subjected to 13 to 15% sales tax. You're left at the end with $27,000 of purchasing power. That is less than half of your income.
Imagine, if you will, a gang of organized crime comes to your door and says, we're going to be here every single week to collect 50% of your income, and there's nothing you can do about it. Try and say no. We're going to do whatever we want with it. We're going to launder it, buy drugs, whatever. None of your business. It would be illegal, right? That would be a crime. So why is it that they just slap a liberal government or conservative government or whatever Canadian government is in power at the time on it, and it's all of a sudden legal? It's okay for them to take half of our money and we have zero say where it goes, and we have to just pay up or else we face jail time or whatever they decide. I'm so sick to death of being taxed to death on every single thing. Canada, there are places that don't even charge income tax. Why are we living here?
I paid a tax bill of $120,000. That was for my business. And that was just one category of tax. That was the tax that I have to charge on my products to pass on to the government. That's why everything's so expensive. GST, HST, federal tax, sales tax, all that stuff. That's not even including the tax that they then take from my business. So I pay that tax to them. Then they tax my business on whatever profit we have. Then they tax me on me paying myself from my business. So that's like 3 levels right there. That doesn't include property tax, house tax, municipal tax, carbon tax. I don't even know all the kinds of tax. I just pay the money. It's like paying money. And this is why business owners are so fucking done with the liberals, because whatever they yap about, blah, 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 social programs, inclusion, Trump, all they want to do is tax you up the ass. And so we're done with that.
Power does not rest in a single law, a single minister, not even a single emergency. It flows through hidden networks, a web of statutes, each with open-ended clauses, each granting discretion as deemed necessary. If one law cannot be bent to control, another one will take its place. Taxes, public health, immigration, security, all these are keys, and all these are levers, and all these are a silent mechanism to shape, restrict, or punish. Rights are not abolished, they are redirected. Freedoms are not openly denied, they are circumvented. And in this way, a government can act not by force alone, but through the careful orchestration of its own legal machinery. A machine designed to control the people without them even realizing it.